Well, welcome everybody. This is the second virtual town hall that we've done for the Blacklidge Bicycle Boulevard project. And I think this is an exciting one because we have a preliminary design at this stage and we want to share that with you. Before we get started, if you don't mind, we have a really quick survey that just helps us learn a little bit more about you. We like to track who's showing up to these meetings. And you can access that survey through the QR code that's on the screen on the left side of the slide here. So if you have a smartphone, you can open up your camera and aim it at that QR code, and it'll take you to the site where you can fill out this survey. It's just a couple questions long. And I think Ryan just put the link to that survey in the chat box as well, if that's easier for you to access it that way. All right, so my name is Colin Cheston, and I am a project manager with the Department of Transportation and Mobility at the city of Tucson. And I'm joined tonight by Ryan Fagan, who is also a project manager. And he is managing some of the other Proposition 407 projects, but not this one. And so he's helping me out tonight. And he's going to be reading some of the questions that y'all type in the chat box. We've got a couple of goals for tonight. We want to share what we've done so far. Like I said, we do have a preliminary design that we want to share with you, or at least give you an overview of that proposed design. We also want to share what we've heard from you all so far. We had an interactive map and a survey open. We've also had neighborhood meetings, and so we have just some information to share in terms of what we've heard so far and how that's informed the preliminary design. We also have a couple of intersections where we're not sure what to do yet, and so we want to get your feedback on that. We shared those at the in-person event, and so we want to share them with you virtually as well. And then finally, we'll review the schedule. But maybe more importantly, we want to be able to answer any questions that you have and get your feedback on what we've accomplished so far. Just quickly, for those of you who are not familiar with Microsoft Teams, some of you I suspect are old pros at this point in the pandemic, but some of you may not be. And so I just want to let y'all know how to ask a question. So there's 3 different ways to do it. The first way is to raise your virtual hand. Depending on if you're on a Mac or a PC, your toolbar for Teams will either be at the top of the screen or the bottom of the screen. And there's icons that look a little bit different, but they both feature a little hand. And if you click on that button, it will alert Ryan and I that someone has raised their hand, and I'll try to pause the presentation and answer your question. This is also relevant because we're going to try doing a poll, taking a poll and trying to understand which intersection concept people like best for both First Avenue and Tucson Boulevard. So this is handy for you to know for the poll taking as well. The second way to ask a question is you can just type it into the meeting chat. There's a speech bubble icon that you can click on, and it'll open up a panel on the right-hand side of the screen. You can type a question in there, and then when we get to the Q&A, Ryan will read those questions out and we'll get them answered. And then the third way is just to start talking. It's probably best if you wait until the Q&A period for this, although if you have a burning question, you can feel free to interrupt me. So unmute your microphone and go ahead and just talk. If you did call in, sometimes you have to press *6 on your phone's keypad before you start speaking. So just keep that in mind. If we're not paying attention to you, you're saying something, try pressing *6. Okay, I want to go over the project goals just quickly, just in case the folks that are here tonight haven't had a chance to attend any of the previous meetings. So the goals of this project generally are to improve safety for all users, to provide crosstown connectivity for people biking, to make it easier for people walking and biking to cross busy streets, and to slow and reduce cut-through traffic. What is a bicycle boulevard? It's a traffic calm neighborhood street where people of all ages and abilities feel comfortable biking and walking. So, we're calling this project a bicycle boulevard, but it's really bigger than that. It's also about improving the experience for pedestrians, making it safer for people driving, and really just improving quality of life along the corridor in general. These are some of the common elements that are incorporated into a bicycle boulevard project. Speed humps, shared lane markings, which are just paint that's applied to the pavement that alerts drivers to the presence of bicyclists. Curb extensions, which can be planted and can help manage stormwater and spot flooding, as well as calm traffic. Traffic circles, 20 mile per hour speed limit signs, and push button crossings that make it easier for people to cross the street. Proposition 407 is the funding mechanism for this project, and it was a bond approved by voters in 2018. So that's what's making this project possible from a financial. This is a map that shows all of the Proposition 407 connections projects. All the blue lines are the bicycle safety and mobility projects. The orangish red lines are the greenways and shared use path, and the yellowish orange lines are the pedestrian safety and walkability projects. So you can see how together these form an interconnected network that is going to help people get across town and access destinations. This is the Blacklidge Bicycle Boulevard project location. It goes from Oracle Road to Columbus Boulevard and dead ends at McCormick Park. It's about a 5-mile long project. And this photo shows what existing conditions are like along Blacklidge. Here's a slightly more zoomed in map so you can see a little bit more detail. You can see it does cross several busy streets, and there will be push button crossings at these busy streets so that people can take advantage of a low traffic, low volume street, but still have that connectivity to get across the streets. All right, so I want to share with you what we've heard so far. And this is a summary of all the comments that we've received from the online map, the online survey, neighborhood meetings, as well as phone calls and emails that I received directly. And you can see speeding is one of the top issues or concerns, crossing busy streets, also something that a lot of people were concerned about. Traffic safety concerns, both while walking and biking. Got a lot of comments as well about the pavement quality. Some comments about cut through traffic. And then, the other ones about trees, flooding, sidewalks, litter, and crime. Those were less common, but still, a good number of folks some concerns about those issues as well. This is specifically just focused on the online survey. And this is trying to get a sense for the level of support for different treatments. You can see there's really strong support for most of the proposed elements, really all the proposed elements, but the highest levels of support for push button crossings, traffic circles, and curb extensions, and about, those are in the upper 80s, 90% levels of support. Almost 90% level of support for push button crossings, traffic redirection or diverters to keep cut through traffic down, about 75% support for those. Good support for 20-mile-an-hour speed limits as well. The speed humps had the lowest level of support, but still 68% of folks felt like that was a good solution for managing speeds along the corridor. And then this is a summary of what we heard from the online map. So this was a tool that allowed people to click on specific segments of the corridor and give us specific direction about what they wanted to see. And so we received a lot of comments for push button crossings, a lot of comments about traffic circles, requests for speed humps, and for curb extensions as well. And the numbers that you see inside the little circles on this slide are the numbers of comments where, for example, there's a request for a push button crossing at First Avenue. 5 different people suggested that would be something they'd like to see. So that's what those numbers mean. So we sent all of these comments over to Felipe, who works for Kittleson, and they're the design and engineering consultant that we hired to help us design this project. And he reviewed all of your comments. He and his team and came up with a preliminary design to incorporate what we heard from you all. And we don't have time to go through kind of, every single section of the design, because again, it's about a 5-mile long corridor. But this is available on the website. And so I encourage you to go to the website and download it. And there's a slide later talking about how to access the website. But if you just Google Blacklidge Bicycle Boulevard, you'll definitely find it. And then we do also have, in addition to this preliminary design, we have a survey that is basically or one way for you all to give us feedback. So you can answer that survey. There's just an open-ended box there, and anything that you see on this that you think could be changed to work better, let us know. You can also call me, you can email me. I'm around, and I would love to have conversations with you about what you'd like to see along the corridor. So since we can't go through everything bit by bit, I'm just going to try to summarize some of the features here. So there are 5 push-button crossings at Stone, First Avenue, Campbell, Country Club, and Alvernon. There are 7 proposed traffic circles in addition to 5 existing traffic circles. There are 29 speed humps being proposed in addition to 5 existing speed humps. One of those is in bad shape and needs to be reconstructed. But we will be planning to add some speed humps, along the corridor. 1 median island has been proposed. 14 new or refreshed marked crosswalks, 7 dashed green crossing markings, or cross rides as they're sometimes called. 4 new pedestrian bicycle crossing warning signs, 16 20-mile-an-hour speed limit signs, 156 shared lane markings, and there will also be bicycle wayfinding signs. And we don't know how many there'll be yet, because that'll come later, but that's part of the design. All right, so I wanted to share with you a couple of options for Blacklidge at First Avenue. This is one of the locations where we're considering experimenting with a new treatment that we think has the possibility to work a little bit better than what we've done in the past, although we want to get your feedback. So the option that I'm showing on the screen right now, this is called a bike hawk. And what it does is it consolidates the pedestrian and bicycle crossings at one side of the street. So what that means is if you're biking on Blacklidge and you're headed westbound, so in this graphic, if you're on the right side of the screen and you're trying to go left, what that means is you actually have to cross Blacklidge, and you do have to cross oncoming traffic, go to the south side of the street, and then push the button, and then the hawk beacon lights up, the cars get a red light, and then you can bike through. Then you have to cross back over to the north side of Blacklidge if you're headed westbound. I want to point out too, here, there's no turning restrictions or restrictions of any kind on vehicle movements. So in this option, cars can drive straight through on Blacklidge. If you're headed eastbound, you can turn right across the crosswalk and across the cross ride. If you're headed westbound, you can turn left across the crosswalk or across the cross ride. So it's a little bit more convenient, arguably, for cars, but there are some conflicts with turning vehicles and people walking and biking in this option. The second option is what we're calling a mini toucan. And this is similar to a toucan design that the city of Tucson has installed in some other locations, including at 5th and Euclid, if you're familiar with that. It's very similar to that, except instead of a short section of 2-way bike lane, it's just a 1-way bike lane. But in this option, bikes don't have to cross over to one side of the street. They just cross to the center of the street, and they wait in a little protected area. So those little gray pieces, I don't know if you can see my cursor, but the little gray wedges here are raised concrete islands. So the advantage of this one is that you don't have to cross over and then cross back in one direction. The disadvantage, if you're a driver, is once you once you get to First Avenue on Blacklidge, you must turn right. So that means you can't go straight through, and you also can't turn left. And that's by design. It reduces the conflicts between people walking and biking and people driving. And it also reduces cut-through traffic. But if this is something you do frequently, you may not love this option. So just putting that out there and trying to make that clear in terms of what the trade-offs are here. Okay, I'm going to pause there because I just talked for a long time. And also, I'm hoping that we can get a sense of what people prefer here. And so in a minute, I'm going to ask you to raise your hand for one of the options. But I wanted to stop and see if anybody had any questions about this before we take the poll. So feel free to unmute your microphone and speak up. Feel free to raise your hand if you do have a question. No questions. Ryan, are there any questions in the chat box?
No, there don't appear to be any in the chat box.
Okay. I think I heard somebody say something.
Yeah, I'm on my phone, and can you hear me?
Yeah, we can hear you.
Oh, okay. I just had a question. That last intersection that you were talking about where you couldn't make did you say a right-hand turn off of Blacklidge in your car?
Yeah,
was that
so
on
actually,
First?
Yeah, that would be First Avenue, and actually you would only be able to turn right. So if you're on Blacklidge and you hit First Avenue, one of the options, mini Tucson option, you would have to turn right onto First Avenue.
Right.
So you would not be able to go through,
Okay.
and you would not be able to turn left.
Right. Okay, that's all I needed to know.
Okay.
Thank you.
Sure. All right, well, if there aren't any other questions, let's start with the bike hawk. And again, the bike hawk is the one where you would need to cross over to the south side of the street if you're going westbound. If you're going eastbound, you just stay on the side of the street that you're on. But the bike crossing and the pedestrian crossing are together on the south side of the street. Raise your hand, raise your virtual hand if you prefer that option over the second one, which is the mini Tucson. I can't see if anybody's hands are raised with the view that I have, but Ryan,
we're raising our hand if we like the bike hawk better.
That's right. If your first choice is the bike hawk, raise your hand now. Are there any hands for that one, Ryan?
We have one hand raised for that one.
Okay, cool. All right, let's move to the next one. If you prefer the mini Tucson, which is the one where if you're driving, you must turn right. If you're biking, you go to the center. And if you're a pedestrian, you go to the center. Raise your hand if you prefer that option.
Do we want people to ask people on the phone?
Oh, yeah. Thank you, Fern. Yeah. And if you're on the phone, yeah.
Just let us know.
Which,
yeah. And you can unmute yourself by pressing *6.
All right. How many votes do we have, Ryan, for the mini Tucson?
We have 2 votes, but one of them is I'm not sure that Sophie lowered her hand after the last question, so it might just be 1 vote.
Oh, okay.
Okay, yeah, yeah, Sophie lowered her hand, so it's just one vote now.
Just one. All right, so tied. And anybody on the phone want to weigh in? It's okay, you don't have to, but if you have a preference, we'd love to hear it. All right, I'll take that as it's neutral for those folks on the phone. All right, let's move on to the next intersection. So, and there's only two of these, two intersections. One, instead of having two options, has three options. But I just wanted to walk you through them quickly because we're not sure what's going to work best here, and we want to hear from you. So at Blacklidge in Tucson, Tucson is not a super busy street, but there's enough cars that we'd like to do something more than just have a stop sign there. So we have three options. The first one is a short section of bike lane and green crossing markings. And so this just alerts drivers to the fact that this is a bike crossing and that they should expect bikes. The second option is something that is similar to a treatment that we have at Glen and Fontana, which is Fontana is another bike boulevard. And what this option does is it provides a little refuge island for people that are riding their bikes. So in this option, you only have to cross one direction of traffic at a time. So it makes it a little bit easier to cross the street, and it gives you a place to wait in the center of the street. And we've also added some green crossing markings as well. I do want to point out, if you're driving here, similar to the mini Toucan option at First Avenue in Blacklidge, you would have to turn right here as a driver. So you can't go through and you can't turn left. So that might be a disadvantage. We did hear from some folks at the in-person event that they drive this daily, and it would be a little inconvenient for them to have to turn and use a different street to go around. That said, I do think it does make it a little bit easier for people biking to cross the street, and as a pedestrian, it does give you a little bit of a refuge as well. So that's the second option. And then the third option, which kind of surprised us, to be honest, at the in-person event, this was by far the most popular option. And this is something that we don't have in the city of Tucson. We've never done this before, so it's a new idea. It's bigger than the kind of traffic circles that you may have seen on some of the other streets, and it really functions like a true roundabout. It's just about half the size of a conventional one. So the way this works is, if you roll up on a bike or in your car, you have to yield to people that are already in the roundabout. So if you're in that circular area, you get to go. And if you're not in the circular area yet, you have to wait. This will slow people down. This has a design speed of about 15 miles an hour. So there'll be warning signs that say slow down to 15 miles an hour. And the geometric design really encourages people to do that as well. This has probably the biggest safety benefits of all the options, just because of the speed. Slowing people down is very effective. And it really does reduce crashes for all modes. The crosswalks for pedestrians are set back, and that means you have to walk a little bit further out of your way, but having them set back like that is a big safety benefit. You'll notice too that the bike lanes that are on Tucson Boulevard, there's some little ramps that take you up on a shared use path. So if you're riding a bike on Tucson, you can continue on the shared use path, cross using the crosswalk, and then continue. And then there's another little ramp on the other side that takes you back down to the bike lane. This one is going to be more expensive than the other two options. And I'll be honest, I'm not sure if we can afford to construct this, but we really just wanted to put it out here and see if people liked the idea before we took it any further. All right, so these are the three options. Are there any questions about the green marking option, the refuge island option, or the mini roundabout option before we take a quick poll? Okay, I'll take that as a no. Ryan, are there any questions in the chat box?
There are not
Okay.
at this time.
All right, so if you like the green markings option, which is the first one that I showed, raise your virtual hand now for that, if that's your favorite.
And feel free to unmute and chime in on the phone too.
Yes, please. All right, Ryan, how many do we have for that? Any?
We do not have any hands raised.
No votes. All right. What about the refuge island option? That was the second one with the little triangular options where cars have to turn right, but bikes have a little place to wait.
I'll vote for that one.
Okay. One vote for refuge island. Anybody else on the phone? How many hands do we have, Ryan?
We do not have any hands raised.
Okay. I think everybody came to the in-person event. That's what I think. Okay, last one. Mini roundabout. Anybody want to vote for that one? Any hands, Ryan?
Yes, we have 2 hands raised.
All right, look at that. Mini roundabout wins again. Very cool. Okay, I'm almost done with this presentation. I just wanted to give an update on the project schedule. So right now we're kind of in the middle here. We're in the design phase. Like I said, Felipe and Kittleson are working hard, and we're still getting public input. We're hoping that we'll be finished with the design, towards the end of the year, and we hope to go to construction in late 2021 or maybe early 2022. Here is more information about the project website. So you can go to bit.ly/blacklidgebb to access the website. There's also a QR code up on the screen for those of you who joined on a computer or a smartphone. On the website now, I just updated it today, and I put the preliminary design plans that Gilson developed and that we took to the public meeting that was in person. The intersection concepts are on there, and we have the survey on there as well. So if there's things that you see on the preliminary design that you'd like us to modify, or if you have an idea for a different solution, please let us know in the survey, or again, you can give me a call or you can email me. All right, so that's it for the presentation. I'm going to stop sharing my screen, and I would love to hear your questions at this time. Ryan, do we want to start with anything in the chat box? Do we have any questions in the chat box so far?
At this time, we don't have any questions in the chat box.
Okay. Well, in that case, we'll just open it up. Feel free to unmute yourself. If you called in on the phone, you want to ask a question or you want to give us some feedback, feel free to do that now.
So I had a question. I wanted to know more about what the plan is for Mountain Avenue and Blacklidge, and the plans for Blacklidge between Mountain and First Avenue.
Yeah. You know what? I might be able to. I will do this. I will pull up the preliminary design for that part of the corridor, and we can take a look at it. I can tell you off the top of my head, I remember looking at this because I was curious about Mountain as well, because it's such a popular bike route. And I know that we have proposed some crossing warning signs there. So they're, the yellow signs that look like a diamond, and they have a bicyclist and a pedestrian that says, watch out for people walking and biking. And I'm just finding the intersection here, and I'm going to share my screen again. Oh, you were called in on the phone though, right? Are you on the phone or did you join on the computer?
I'm on my phone, but I can see it.
Oh, you can see it though. Okay, cool.
Yeah.
So this is what that intersection looks like. And so these are the crossing warning signs that I was talking about. They have a little bike icon and a pedestrian and a little downward facing arrow. So that's kind of what we're thinking here. We thought about trying to do curb extensions, which would shorten the crossing distance and maybe slow people down a little bit. The problem with that is if we did a curb extension, that would reduce or eliminate the bike lane. And we didn't want to do that because we know it's a bike way. There's not any space to do, for example, like a refuge island or something in the middle, like we talked about at Tucson Boulevard. And we weren't sure that a traffic circle was the right solution. So that's what it looks like right now. I'm going to let Felipe.
I have a comment about that solution.
Okay.
I live in that area, and if you're driving your car on Blacklidge and you're crossing mountain, those are the people that need the warning signs. The people driving on Blacklidge, crossing mountain. I see the signs for the people who are driving mountain. If you do not stop before the stop sign, you really run the danger of hitting a cyclist coming down mountain. So I don't know. You can't see my cursor, can you? No.
No, I can't. I'm sorry.
So what you want is some kind of warning for the people driving both directions on Blacklidge to be aware of bicycles in the bike route on mountain. So you can put them on all four corners if you want, but if you only can do two, it's much more important to not for the drivers on mountain as much as for the drivers on Blacklidge. It's also important for drivers on mountain in terms of making right-hand turns into cyclists if they're not paying attention. But I really, just because I live, I drive, I walk, and I bike in that area, and have for decades, I really see you needing to address the car traffic going both directions on Blacklidge that are crossing mountain.
Okay, thank you for that feedback. That's helpful.
I'd also like to point out that speeds on mountain, car speeds can be very high, much higher than the posted speed limit. So I think you do need some sort of warning sign on mountain as well. And maybe even a crosswalk, a painted crosswalk to draw motorist attention to the fact that I think more people are going to be crossing the street with the new bike lanes. And because of the traffic sometimes going to the university and coming back from the university, it can actually be quite difficult to get across the street sometimes. So I'm just a little concerned about people getting impatient and trying to, rush through, not waiting for the cars to clear and that sort of thing. It can be quite dangerous. And also, I would like to see some more attention paid to the speeds on Blacklidge, because speeds on Blacklidge can be pretty high, even though we have those speed humps. I've seen people hit those speed humps with their cars and just go flying up into the air. And then they do slow down for the second one, but they miss the first one sometimes. So I think speeds, even though it's a residential street, I don't know why, but people do tend to speed on that street.
Yeah. Yep, that's a good comment as well. And that's something that one of the goals of this project is definitely to help manage speeds on Blacklidge. I think, it's open and it's very straight and it's very flat. So I think people, once they see that, they tend to go faster than they probably should. So I think I'm hopeful that the speed humps and the traffic circles will help manage the speeds. And like you said, I think for people, go over one, they get the idea that there might be more.
I have a question on this screen that you have up right now. Do I see a new speed hump going in on Blacklidge east of Mountain?
You do, a proposed one. Right
Good.
here.
Well, actually, the sign. Oh, I see. That's the warning sign. Yeah, that's a great idea.
Okay.
It's a great
good.
idea because we've got speed humps between Mountain and Park. And then you've got Park Modern, which is a whole other problem. But there aren't any on Blacklidge to the east of Mountain. So I love that idea. And one of the things that I brought up at an earlier meeting, maybe the first meeting, was, can you just scroll this and show down at Blacklidge and Park or not?
Yeah, no, I can. I can show wherever you want to go.
Let's look at Blacklidge and Park for a second.
Here you go.
All right, I'll see. Oh, right. So you're gonna, good. This is good. There's a speed hump. Is that stop sign is an existing stop sign, right? Wait a minute. No, it isn't. Huh. The stop is currently on Blacklidge. Are you making oh, you're putting in a traffic circle. Ooh, that's a great idea there. That's a big accident area, in terms of cars, maybe not with bicycles. So does that mean that would be a 4-way stop at that intersection, Blacklidge and Park?
What we're proposing right now is a 2-way stop.
Well, right now it's a 2-way stop, but the stops are on Blacklidge and Park just zooms through. I see your stop signs on Park.
Yeah. So, and that's intentional.
Okay.
And I should say the stop control that's proposed here is pretty preliminary. And I'll say that our traffic engineers haven't reviewed in detail yet all of the stop sign locations. But the intent here is that when you do have a bicycle boulevard, you're trying to make it more convenient for the
Exactly.
people.
That's what I'm seeing. What you're doing is right now, the bikes and the cars have to stop on Blacklidge, but you're making it so it'd be easier for bikes to get through that intersection with the traffic circle and with stopping the traffic on Park, which I think is a great idea because as fast as people drive on Blacklidge, they drive much faster on Park. And they don't have a stop there. And one caveat, when you have changes in signage, something as major as Park and Blacklidge and changing the direction of who has to stop, there's got to be a lot of like warning sign about that change. You know what I say? People drive this every day for years and years and years, and people on Park aren't expecting to have to stop.
Yeah, no, you're absolutely right about that. And if we were to make this change, and like I said, this is preliminary, and I know Park is a collector street, so I'm not certain that we will be able to do this. But if we do it, we will certainly alert people with, I don't know if you've seen this, but anytime there's a change in traffic control, they put flags on the signs just to, draw extra attention, and they're like fluorescent orange or something. So that will be part of it.
One thing about this area here between Park and Tyndall, which doesn't show on your particular picture, is that, I've been in the neighborhood over 30 years, so I've watched a lot of things change. And when this whole Park Modern was built on Blacklidge between Tyndall and Park, there were lots of meetings with the neighborhood association, and there was a lot of assurance that everybody would be parking off the street because everybody has a 2-car garage, on the back side of their building. And what we have seen, contrary to this picture you have here, is a lot of traffic parked along the curb on both sides of Blacklidge in this area, to the point where sometimes it's almost impossible to get 2 cars in traffic through between them. And I think that poses a real problem for people on bicycles. And I don't know that there's anything you can do about that. I don't know if people are just using their garages for storage or it's too inconvenient to enter through the back door. But the promise that there wouldn't be people parking on the street did not come to be.
Gotcha.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's not the first time I've heard that. I think in theory, on-street parking can be a good thing for a bicycle boulevard, because if there's cars parked on the street, that kind of narrows up the travel lanes.
Slows things down.
Yeah, it makes people slow down and introduces a little bit of friction. But yeah, that's a tricky one. I mean, aside from removing the parking, which I think would be a very difficult sell. I don't know how you solve that problem.
So here's a question. I see 2 speed humps here in the view that we have. Are those proposed, or are they probably going to actually go in? Are those hopefuls?
Yeah, I mean, they're proposed as part of this design.
Another excellent idea. Another good idea. Yeah.
Good. Yeah, what we're trying to do is have some kind of traffic calming element every, 350 or 400 feet. So that could be a traffic circle, it could be a speed hump. This is a little median island that's been proposed. So yeah, that's the idea. I will say we have not completed a review of drainage, stormwater conditions. And in some cases, we know that we're not able to do speed humps or traffic circles in certain locations if it's going to cause a drainage issue. So that review is, still needs to be done, but these are just kind of our initial ideas.
It's interesting. I have seen some speed humps rather go in this area in Hedrick Acres, where they put the speed hump in, back where the people who live there got the signatures and got all the permits and got it paid for and got it done. And then found out that the street dipped down in the middle, so they actually cut a channel through the middle of the speed hump instead of, in normal cases, they just don't extend the speed hump all the way to the curb so the water can flow along the curb. And in one place on Hedrick, I noticed that they started out by cutting out the center of the speed hump to let the water go through. And the last time I went down there, I noticed that speed hump is completely gone now.
Oh, really?
It was scraped away. But, that's not a street we're dealing with right now. But I understand the whole thing about the water drainage. Right.
Yeah. There are some streets in Tucson that have what they call an inverse crown. And so, yeah, that's one solution to deal with the drainage there.
Well, Blacklidge, I know in that area is not an inverse crown because we've got one of those cutaways in the curb that waters vegetation, that sort of thing going on because the water tends to roll down at the curbs.
Yep. Well, there might be other questions, but I did want to just quickly go back to the Mountain Avenue question in terms of what's happening there. And, Ryan just kind of interjected and sent me a chat just to me and was suggesting that, it might be possible there. We may have enough width that we may be able to narrow the travel lanes just a little bit at the intersection there and maybe do a median refuge island. So I don't know, that might be something that we could look at because I would like to do something more at Mountain than just the warning signage. And I see Felipe nodding. So I don't know if he has thoughts on that or has any ideas.
Yeah, we can look into that, but there is a drainage inlet over there. So as long as we can figure out how to maintain the water, the drainage, and have a median, maybe we can work out something.
Well, when they totally redid Mountain Avenue, they put in drainage because there was never any drainage on Mountain, and now there's drainage that goes into the culvert down at Hedrick.
Okay. Other questions, comments? And, I can, if people have questions about specific locations too, I'm happy to share my screen again and we can pull up the draft design and take a look.
I just had another question. Sorry.
Sorry, go ahead.
Okay, I just had another question about the traffic circle at Park and Blacklidge. And you said that might not happen, or it might not be possible to make a circle there. Is that what you said?
Yeah, well, so what I meant to communicate there, and sorry if I wasn't clear, is that these designs are preliminary and that we haven't yet conducted a review of the feasibility of stormwater. So it's possible that in some locations, we may have to revise some of the treatments in order to accommodate stormwater drainage. And we just don't know yet exactly where those locations are.
I see. So if there was no traffic circle, would you have a two-way stop or a four-way stop, or what would you do instead of the traffic circle?
Yeah, that's a good question. I don't know the answer to that off the top of my head. And you know, our traffic engineers will certainly need to review any changes to the traffic control, including stop signs being flipped from one side or from one street to the other street. Personally, I would love to see a two-way stop that favored through movement on Blacklidge with some traffic calming. Just because I think that's one of the goals of the project is to facilitate a convenient bike movement along Blacklidge. But we'll have to wait and see how that shakes out.
All right, thank you.
Sure. Sorry that wasn't a definitive answer.
So we have a request from Evren asking if you could share the link for the website for people on the phone and maybe also your contact information.
Sure. Yeah. So the website, I'll give you the shortened one, the bit.ly link. That is bit.ly/Blacklidge and then my contact info is Colin.Cheston. That's COLLIN .Cheston, CHESSTON at TucsonAZ.gov. And my phone number is 520-305-0254.
Thank you.
Of course. I love talking about this stuff, so don't be shy. Feel free to give me a call. Any other questions? Any other want to zoom into any specific locations and critique Felipe's work? I guess it's perfect, Felipe. All right, well, I really appreciate everybody that joining us tonight. Great to have you here, and I look forward to hearing from you. If you have any other questions or concerns, and again, there's a new survey up on the website, so feel free to fill that out, review the information in more detail if you'd like to. And yeah, we'll keep working on this.